We must leverage our expertise in engineering, science, policy, and social sciences to co-create holistic solutions that are contextually relevant and culturally sensitive. Moreover, we must cultivate a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation, recognizing that the pursuit of sustainability is a journey rather than a destination. It requires us to embrace uncertainty, to experiment with novel approaches, and to learn from both successes and failures. As we embark on this collective endeavor, let's draw inspirations from the words of Albert Einstein, who famously remarked, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that led us to creating these problems." By harnessing the power of material science and engineering, we can create a world where safe drinking water is not a luxury but a fundamental right, where affordable and sustainable housing becomes the norm, clean energy powers our cities and transportations, and ensures a healthy planet for the future generations. Sanitation infrastructure also ensures a healthy future for all communities. This is not about technological advancement, it is about leaving a legacy. What legacy? A legacy where scientific ingenuity and environmental responsibilities are intertwined. It is about building a future where meeting humanity's basic needs does not come at the expense of our planet. Together, let us embark on this journey beyond the limit, aimed at unwavering resolve and a collective spirit and commitment to sustainable future for all. Our beloved country, Ghana, stands at crossroads. As we know, we are at a juncture where our energy needs intersect with the commitment of sustainability. Dumso, this is characterized by the frequent, unpredictable power outages and load shedding, which affects us all, disrupting daily life and hindering economic growth, straining our infrastructure and testing our resilience. The importance of scalable and sustainable energy storage systems for a resilient energy infrastructure is crucial for our country. According to the International Energy Agency, electric vehicles and battery storage will account for about half of the mineral demand growth from clean energy technologies over the next 2 decades. This is spurred by the surging demand for battery materials. Madam Vice Chancellor, lithium is critical in this, especially in the context of the surging demand for electric vehicles and other battery-based devices. As the world transitions towards cleaner energy sources, lithium-ion batteries have become the backbone of this transformation. However, historically, lithium has been a marginal mineral with limited supply. According to the African Green Mineral Strategy of the African Development Bank, lithium will see the fastest growth rate and demand growing by about 40 times in the sustainable development scenario. Madam Chair, in 2018, Ghana made a significant breakthrough by discovering lithium deposits under the Ewuya lithium project within the 42.63 kilometer square area in the Infantsiman municipality of the central region of Ghana. A definitive feasibility study conducted in June 2023 revealed promising results. A mineral resource estimated of about 35.3 million tons at 1.2% lithium oxide and the potential for 3.6 million tons of spodumene concentrate production over the mine's 12-year life. Spodumene concentrate is a key raw material for making lithium-ion batteries. Ghana's Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Minerals Income Investment Fund, announced plans to invest $33 million in Atlantic Lithium and take a direct stake in the mine's development. It is worth stating that half of Ewuya's mine's spodumene concentrate output is earmarked for a refinery that Piedmont Lithium plans to construct in Tennessee, USA. Ghana's long-standing strategy in the recently passed Green Minerals Policy prohibits the export of raw lithium, emphasizing raw processing and thereby maximizing the benefit of lithium while ensuring resilience and sustainable lithium development. This policy applies not only to lithium, but also to other minerals crucial for the energy transition, such as manganese and bauxite. In the 15-year term mining lease agreement, the company shall pay the government of Ghana a royalty of 10% of the total revenue earned from sale of the mineral obtained from the lease area. The company shall set aside 1% of annual revenue for a community development fund for local community initiatives. According to Section 278 of the 2024 budget statement by the Ministry of Finance, investors seeking to assemble electric vehicles in the country will be granted import exemption on their semi-knockdown, completely knocked down, or fully built units. That is in line with the Ghana Automotive Development Policy. This ensures that there is a creation of green jobs for the youth and support the rapid development of local value chains such as the lithium mining and processing. Furthermore, the Minister for Transport also reiterated government's commitment to sustainability and green future, with the National Electric Vehicle Policy being a catalyst for creating new industries, experts, and jobs, thereby improving public health and reducing emissions in the transport sector. Madam Vice-Chancellor, this, however, is worth stating that it is essential to recognize that while lithium alone may not revolutionize Ghana's economy, it serves as a catalyst for broader capacity building. Our focus should therefore extend beyond the mining to holistic investment in research, education, development, and local experts and infrastructure to harness the full potential of this discovery. I propose that at least 20% of the government's royalty should be dedicated to research and development. Plastic waste has been a menace and demands sustainable management of these. Plastic wastes are very important to our daily lives, and rightly so, they have found in many applications. Although currently considered a burden, plastic waste is potentially untapped feedstock for numerous chemical and manufacturing processes. The production and disposal of waste single-use plastics contributes significantly to environmental pollution. Single-use plastic waste is the major constituent of the industrial and municipal waste in cities after food and paper. Because most of the plastics take several hundreds of years to break down when they decompose, they present varying degrees of environmental challenges. This growing threat posed by the plastic pollution is being felt all around the world. It is estimated in Ghana that the manufacturing sector uses 2.6 million metric tons of raw plastics annually, leading to well over 1 million tons of annual plastic waste generation. However, only approximately 9.5% of this is collected for recycling. The rest end up in the sea, landfill sites, and openly burned. Recycling, reusing, incineration, and energy recovery have been identified as techniques of downstream plastic waste management. However, the sustainability implication of plastics and valorization systems in addressing the menace is yet to be fully understood. Madam Vice Chancellor, on the national front, the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, has formed the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership to support the public-private sector transition to a plastic circular economy, thereby ensuring sustainable plastic management. In partnership with the United Nations bodies like UNIDO and UNDP, efforts are being made to strengthen the national capacity of Ghana to transition beyond the limits to a circular economy framework that addresses plastic leakages into the country's oceans and water bodies. The exponential growth in industries demands that we get more energy, and petroleum-based energy has been one of the focal points in this drive. So in essence, we can convert these plastics into energy for diverse energy resource use.
And so there you have it at that inaugural lecture by Professor David Dodu Ahen. He's been talking a lot about lithium and how we can, harness the energy of same and everything in between, energy and more. Well, he joins us for a conversation today. He is Director, Institute of Applied Science and Technology, and he joins us on how we can find sustainable solutions to provide our basic needs. Prof, a very good morning to you. It's good to have you join us in the studio. If you're going to make your point, you would have to speak up. You delivered this lecture recently at the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. Yes. August event, you had the Vice Chancellor there and everything in between. What pushed you to do this? Yes, it's a lecture. We have a number of them every year. But why did you want to do this at this time?
Well, inaugural lectures lectures that when you become a full professor of the university, you have to deliver such a lecture, which I became a full professor within 10 years of getting into the University of Ghana.
10 years?
Yes. So I joined the University of Ghana in 2011, and by 2021, I've gone through senior lecturer, associate professor,
full professor
in 2021. So you need to let the public know what you have been doing in your work. And I've been
by way of research,
by way of research, by way of national development. How is it affecting policy? How is it affecting communities? So we signed up to deliver an inaugural lecture, which was titled Going Beyond the Limits, Engineering Sustainable Solutions for Basic Human Needs, which takes into consideration all the work that I have done over the period, which includes even before becoming a university professor. So going beyond the limit and looking at the engineering of basic human needs, what I looked at, the basics of basic human needs using Abraham Maslow's principles. You look at the physiological aspect, which deals with what you breathe, what you drink. Shelter is very important. You talk about the
basic
energy,
human
the
needs
basic
at the bottom of the pyramid.
At the bottom of this. So that's been my research. And part of it, in terms of energy materials, will be using batteries. So I do sustainable energy transition materials where I look at supercapacitors and to look at battery research in a smaller scale. So we do something like watch batteries. We get into that. Then I also look at environmental issues, materials that we can use for environmental needs. And this brought us to the point where if we are working in batteries, due to climate change, there are several issues that are going on with sustainability. How then do we get into our energy transitions and then get into more research? Then came the issue of lithium that has already been discovered in our country, and lithium-ion batteries are really very crucial. So I had to touch on those issues, especially when we are working in this area, and also to touch on the issue of environmental sustainability. And in this case, we're looking at the plastics, which is already a huge menace across the world, and especially in Africa. And we see just the rains happened, and you find several plastic waste going in. And the lecture was to share in our small way what we are doing from academia and bringing into society. So what we are doing is not to do our research, let the research sit on the shelves, but then let the research benefit communities. And that's where we are working in the community at Osu. So it's just behind the Osu Castle around the landing beach, which has a big lagoon. And most of the time we deal with issues of plastic waste being taken by the official folks. Sometimes they go to sea, and what we are getting is plastic waste. So that's a bit about our work in that. And the lecture was to bring it to the public notice, some of the sustainability areas that we are working on and how it's affecting our country, how it's affecting society.
All right. Interesting thoughts you've shared. You have a background in physics, then materials engineering, so no surprises in there. But I just wanted to situate the conversation as well. In these areas, do we have the technical know-how, the sort of manpower we'll require? When I was sharing my blunt thoughts, I was talking about economies like Germany, France, and the technical aspect of their lives. That is what has built their countries and is sustaining their countries.
Exactly.
What do you make in those areas? Do we have the technical know-how? Do we have the numbers, the base to even build on developmentally? I just want a quick reflection on that,
right,
though it's a bit aside from the main point.
Really, but I highlighted this in the lecture because, for instance, if we talk about the lithium and then we're talking about batteries, we are talking about the EVs, we do not have the capacity. We need the base to be able to help us develop, just like the economies that you were already talking about. No country, as I heard you, has developed without a solid educational background on this. We need to build a research capacity. Currently, we do not have battery research going on in the country.
None at all?
None at all. None that I know, but this is very crucial. We are promoting electric vehicles, and we will still be dependent on batteries that have been assembled outside. We have the raw material here. Do we have the technology to even beneficiate what is coming out? Because when you do the mining, in this instance, it's just about 1.28% that you are going to get out of the lithium, apart from the other mineral compositions that you have. How do we even do those extractions? How do we get into the form that we can actually build our lithium batteries ourselves? So we are doing it in our small way, but I think as a country, we should push forward research, building capacity to this. We need the next generation that will be able to support these industries. And currently we don't have that. And it's something that in this lecture, I put a lot of emphasis on, that we need to build capacity to be able to feed in all those economies that have developed. What really helped was there was a high-skilled manpower that could support those industries. Even if we have someone setting up a factory here, we need the support. You need a skilled labor in that, who have the technology, who have the know-how. How do we even build a cathode or an anode of just a cell? We need to start from the universities, from the research institutions. This is a place where you can make all the mistakes, where when you get to industry, you cannot be forgiven.
Right.
But this is a place where you can make all the mistakes. You can learn.
And I know institutions,
and then,
I mean,
yes,
my alma mater is the University of Ghana. There's KNUST, there's Cape Coast and all of that. I know places like Academic City University doing quite some interesting things. Ashesi, doing quite some interesting things. They are private, but how are we tapping into them? And that is where sometimes people say that, especially for public institutions, you've not lived up to expectation. KNUST would say, oh, but we come out with all of these things. Sometimes we put them out on the news and all of that. What do they amount to? Some of our students nowadays going out, robotics and all of that. What does that lead two. You get it? It's not just the fanfare of we've done this. What is the result of the fanfare? It's like studying mathematics and getting out of school and having no capacity when mathematical problems are posed. Then what was the use of studying mathematics?
Right.
Do you accept that in academia, those who allege that there have been some failures, that you've not lived up to that research and actualization mission? Do you accept it?
Not entirely, because it depends on the angle that you are looking at. Because we have trained people who are already in the industry that are actually delivering. We have produced.
The question is how many?
Well, I cannot sit here and give you the numbers.
No, I'm not asking for a specific, but how many vis-a-vis what the nation's needs are? Well,
for the nation's needs, I will say not as expected, but the universities, the research institutions, in my opinion, are doing their best. Are we actually supporting these institutions enough?
That's the other question.
Do that? We talk about National Research Foundation, National Research Fund that could do that. These other economies have some basis for supporting the research to be able to come up with that. So we do the research in our small way, and industry uptakes these. So it's not entirely the case, even though there is some amount of truth that not all the people that have been trained are delivering on that. Do we have enough of the capacities? In our small way, I believe that we are doing our best. That was why I was putting a lot of emphasis that we need to put in a lot into this capacity building in terms of the research, so that we can see much of the outcome. I believe so, yes.
Interesting thoughts there. I also do know that research-wise, and I speak to a lot of people, even recently at an event, for you who want to go into research, because there's not such funding, very minimal funding.
Right.
In fact, 90+%, 97%, as one professor of agriculture mentioned, comes from outside. So they dictate to you what you should do, and it's in their interest. You may want to research on something that is in Ghana's interest, but you don't have the funds, and he who pays the piper calls the tune. So then you are hobbled there. But let me quickly take you to page 9 of your lecture, out of the 41 pages. You say there, let us dare to think beyond the limits of conventional wisdom, to challenge the status quo, and to pioneer a new era of sustainable motivations. I'm choosing the words there, reading out carefully. The journey beyond the limit will be challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable. By harnessing the power of material science and engineering, we can create a world where, and that is where my focus is, because I'll take you step by step to find out what we've done and where we are lagging behind and how we can get there. So, safe drinking water is not a luxury, but a fundamental right, readily available to all. Affordable and sustainable housing becomes the norm, and you talk about materials. Clean energy powers our cities and transportation systems for a healthy planet. Sustainable agriculture flourishes, ensuring food security for generations to come. And then sanitation infrastructure ensures a healthy future for all communities. In these few points, you have succinctly pointed to some of the biggest problems in Ghana. Let's start with safe drinking water. There's Galamsey and everything you know in there. But from the materials standpoint, what can we do? Yes, we are mining the minerals, but we're also killing ourselves. Minerals kakra, yekuye ho kakra. What's your take?
Well, I have always said that we need to look at situations like Galamsey from different perspectives. We are putting more on the economic needs, typically the basic need, because possibly those who are involved in Galamsey want to survive. But that is going beyond that. What happens to our planet? What happens to our water bodies? We are already seeing the effects of things like that, if I should put it, irresponsible extraction of these minerals without recourse to our planet. In the near future, water is going to become a scarce commodity, because what are we using for those mining? You have your lithium, your mercury, it's getting into the water table, the cyanide, all these ones are happening. You take those minerals, and what happens? You go and buy purified water. You cannot drink that water. It gets to a point, it's going to seep down into the water table, which is already creating a problem. What happened with climate change? It was because we had a need and we want to develop, we want to do industrialization, and we did not think about the society, the environment. How is our planet going to affect us? So that's one of the reasons I was talking about. Let's go beyond what we have done over the period, where we were thinking, this is what I need. Whatever happens tomorrow is not my issue.
You talk about sustainability for the future
I'm talking about
generations as well.
sustainability for the future, which brings us in. Our water, it will get to a point that if we go in this unsustainable way, a time will come, water is going to be a luxury. That is why we're saying that you have to go beyond that so that one day it doesn't become a luxury, it is for all. So we need to do something about this. In material science and engineering, we do things trying to recover. So we do water treatment. We have materials that we use for water treatment. So of course, when it comes to the water that is already been polluted, we can do the filtration. You can have materials that can break the cyanide components and all those ones down for safe drinking water. If it's in terms of fluorides, we have done a couple of researches that we know how to be able to do this.
So these are all things that you have done at the University of Ghana?
Yes. These are researches that we currently... So all those ones that we have listed are solutions that we provide from materials point of view. So
but are they pieces of research that you've actualized? Have you made something out of them?
Oh, yes.
You've made the discovery. Have you put any equipment together or put together any framework that will assist us at the national
So there are a couple of researches that have been done that have gone beyond just the university, that is already being piloted in communities and also being used. So there are ceramic membranes that are already being used in water filtrations. It's not just in the university, it's already happening, yes. So within the products already on the market that it's already having impact in the country. So for all that we have talked about, I talked about the energy aspect. We do energy, I do solar cells. So the idea of doing a solar cell is I'm training a student in engineering. Are we just buying a solar panel and coming to do an installation? We need to have the basics of how that one was built. So we do it in a small way. We train the student how to actually build your solar cell from scratch with materials that you can put them together and you get some values. In most of my training, I do not emphasize on high efficiency. My point is let it work. So if that student is able to build that solar cell in a small way and it works, even if it is 1%, it's working. And then you can make improvements.
You can build on it.
You can build on. The batteries, we do watch battery. How many people understand what actually is in the watch battery? You have different components in the watch battery. And we take local materials. From the plastic waste, we get char, like your charcoal, BDA. And this has a certain property from carbon that we can use for the battery. We have used manganese oxide, we've used different ones to build a small one. The student will be able to build that. This is how they learn. When he transitions from the university or the research, he gets into a company that is building this, he can now upscale. Then we bring it to upscaling or even the commercialization that we can feed industry, which is a role that I play as the director for the Institute of Applied Science and Technology, linking whatever we do in the university with industry, all kinds of industries, where we are not looking at science-based industries. Because these days we talk about what we call the frontiers of the sciences, where in the studio, the scientists, the people in the arts, they work together. But these are areas that we can all work in, and that's what we're doing. So in my sense, we have to go beyond the traditional thinking and think more in our sustainability principles to save our planet.
We've already, you see, the trajectory is clear. We've already started talking about lithium.
Right.
We've spoken about mining. And of course, lithium too must be mined. But that brings me to the next point here. Clean energy powers our cities and transportation systems, ensuring a healthy planet for future generations. How then does the lithium that we have now thankfully discovered feed into this picture per what you have said
Yeah.
and what you see in the future? How can we make the most of it?
Well, with sustainability, the issue of climate change, and recently the COP happened, and there are a lot of discussions on reducing the global warming and all these. These have mostly come from petroleum-based or fossil fuel-based use of materials that have affected our planet. So now there is a shift of trying to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that are getting into the atmosphere that is causing our global warming, which puts all of us into an uncomfortable situation if we do not do something about it. So gradually we are all transitioning from fossil fuel source of energy into what they call the renewables. And that brings us into this. And one of the backbones is our battery system that is going to power. If we have the electric vehicles, which thankfully the country has already come up with some policies on that, batteries are the types that are not bringing out these emissions. So you are not using fuels, you are not burning your fossil fuel to bring out a lot of the carbon dioxide, what we see on our roads, which means that if we promote more of these renewable and sustainable energy sources, what we are going to do is the pollution levels are going to come down, the health issues are going to be affected, which has direct link with all the sustainable development goals, right? So this is where we come in, and thankfully, we have a resource that is going to power our battery system. Can we think as a country that we promote a certain battery research, not even just research, we can promote a battery industry. We have a plant that is in this country that is building the batteries in-house to power the EV vehicles that are coming. I like the idea of having the exemptions to bring in those ones, but what happens to the batteries? Your batteries will definitely be imported. If we have in-house, Ghana could even be a strategic hub.
Exactly
In the whole West Africa.
And it will drive prices
Drive the prices down.
Well.
You have the minerals here, you have the materials, if you build on the capacity to be able to feed into this industry, we can reduce that. By the way, Ghana already has a plan of reducing its footprints in terms of energy and the carbon print. And I believe that this is one of the ways that we should...
You look at some aspects and they are not encouraging, though. Look at the Nkrumah era and the Atomic Energy Commission. I get sad when I think about it. Can you imagine where we could have been even energy-wise?
Right.
Atomic energy.
Exactly.
That was the plan, futuristic.
Right.
How many years on we are marking time?
Yeah.
But we can also talk about, before we conclude, the plastic element. Right? You have harnessed that, but you are doing something out of that. You say we should go beyond limits. How can we explode? Because plastic abounds.
That's correct.
The material is there.
Yeah.
How can we explode, so to speak, in terms of harnessing the negativity and making it positive?
So
on a national scale.
On a national scale. Really, there are a lot of national scale policies that are there, like the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership and all these ones are happening. My point is the plastic waste now is not being seen as waste. We see it as wealth. Can we make wealth out of the plastic waste? I heard about the possibility of banning the plastic waste, the plastics actually that is being
Some say
generated.
we should opt for single-use plastics, which would degrade within 6 months and they are gone.
So possibly we could look at biodegradable plastics, but what is already happening? We have all these tons of plastic waste being generated daily.
True.
When we say we want to stop it, it's not going to stop because there are even cups that are made from paper. What is in the lining is plastic. We have
the polystyrene products.
You have the polystyrene products, but you even have the cups that are made from paper. But sometimes you have to put a small film of plastic in so that the water doesn't seep through. So what we have already produced, we need to find a solution, which I know a lot is being done, but only 9.5% is being taken and then recycled. So that's why we said We need to do something about it. We call it valorization. It is not coming back into the ecosystem, but you can take it completely out and use it for another purpose. That is where we are working in converting these ones into fuel.
Okay.
Right, so when you do that, you don't get back your plastic, and it has certain value addition. What we are doing currently at OSU, which after this I'm still going to cite, is to even train the youth to collect these plastics. So you are looking at the whole plastic waste value chain. Someone goes to see, gets the plastics, you can bring it to site, you can convert these ones into the fuels that they can use even in their outboard motors. So by so doing, you are solving a problem and then creating jobs for our people and training them on.
Do you know what I'm thinking as we conclude? And I just have one final point. But before that, you realize that a lot of our fishermen nowadays go to fish and they catch plastic instead of fish.
Yes.
Now, what if we monetized this, like you're saying?
Yeah.
So if you catch plastic, it's not a loss. You bring the plastic.
Bring the plastic.
From the sea, because we are clearing the sea as well.
Exactly.
You've caught the plastic. Even if you caught no fish, bring all the plastic.
Exactly.
We'll buy the plastic off of you.
Exactly.
Process it for fuel. You get some money. It's not a total loss, and you've helped clean the sea.
Yeah.
I'm not sure people are thinking, but that's
possibly. Well,
do.
there are other people within the community of the plastic waste recycling and valorization that are pushing forward this, especially in marine plastic debris recovery. So we are looking at it both sides. Most of it is happening from the land side and then definitely entering into the ocean. There are issues where you find these plastics in the food system because the fish, they eat the plastic and then it gets into our food system. Yeah. So it's a holistic way of dealing with a problem.
I saw an interesting CNN research recently that said it had found microplastics in human, penises, male, penises, and
because
all
they break down in the process whilst they are in the sea. The toxin becoming smaller, it's eating.
And these will clog your arteries, your veins, and in the end, cardiac issues, and we're killing ourselves bit by bit. But the final point, I noticed that all of these tie into something. Sanitation infrastructure.
Right.
That's the final point in about a minute I want you to make. What do you see in terms of our sanitation infrastructure? Of course, if we take the plastic away, it helps in that. In less than a minute, how can we address that issue from this perspective? And that's the final bit.
Well, I believe we still need to build more on the infrastructure side, on the different kinds of, especially municipal waste, which we look at it from either solid waste or the liquid waste. We need to also promote more on what we call the waste to energy. Then we can harness. It's not collecting those ones and then still putting them mostly in the landfill site, but we can harness energy from these various plastics. What we say is the organics. I know companies that are already doing things in composites that we are even using them for fertilizer applications, where we can also look at the various components. For the agricultural waste, for instance, we are getting even biofuels, biodiesels out of it that we can use. So I believe that we should look at it holistically. This is a good area that I will even advocate that the youth get more into the waste management. It's not a matter of I created the waste and it's there. But I believe that it's no longer waste. I sit here and I don't...
Wealth.
What we see. We should see it as wealth.
All right. Interesting perspectives. So here we are. Some comments coming through saluting you for the good work.
Yeah.
And this has been our conversation on lithium and harnessing, the benefits of it, maximizing the benefits, and of course on plastics as well. Who is in the studio? In case you missed it, you can still catch the live feed or the playback. He is a professor of material science and engineering at the School of Engineering Sciences, University of Ghana, and director of the Institute of Applied Science and Technology, also at the University of Ghana, Professor David Dodu Ahen. Thanks for passing through. My regards to Professor Kaufman.
Thank you. I will send it.
All right.
Great.
Well, that's how we cap this end of the conversation off. But stay with us. There's still more action coming your way on the AM show. We'll be right back.